Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another DigiEduHack coaching call. My name is Madeline, and over the time span of 12 weeks, I will be giving you 14 coaching calls to help you and guide you through your hackathon hosting process, all the way from registering as a host to completing and throwing your own hackathon for your local participants. If you haven't watched the earlier coaching calls yet and you just registered, you can do so in this same YouTube playlist. All the coaching calls will be saved there, so you can watch them from one going forward. You can also watch this one first if you want, but up to you. If you have any questions, you can feel free to ask them in the chat under this video, or then send us an email over contact@digieduhack.com. You can also reach out to us in the weekly support calls that we do on Fridays at 10 a.m. CEST or CET time, where we go through all the same questions you might have, but as a live conversation, so you can contribute as well. That being said, this week we're going to have a bit of a different setup. We're actually going to coach and host 3 different calls on the same topic, planning your format. The reason we're doing 3 different is because you can have an on-site event, an online event, or a blended event where your participants can be both on-site or online. So we're going to be focusing on those 3 formats on the 3 days of this week. So you'll be seeing me Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at the same time. Excellent. Let's get started. Today, we're going to discuss the on-site format. We're going to go through some pros and cons of having an on-site event in this DigiEduHack project. We're going to give you an example schedule. We're going to go through some things you need to know about booking and having your venue. What do you need to think about in terms of catering, about resourcing from your own team, and about having some social breaks in between in your hackathon. First, pros and cons. There are a lot, of course, so these are just a few examples. I'm sure you can think of more yourself. One of the biggest pros of having an on-site event is the face-to-face interaction. Here you enable both your participants, your partners, your mentors, judges to work together face-to-face, to network a bit more closely. And sometimes the atmosphere of working together in the same place is very, very rewarding and exciting. This gives or can give better communication and tools for collaborating and so on. And it's also a good way to strengthen the local community. You can also give a more immediate feedback and support in an on-site format, since you're discussing all the time and you can react more closely and faster to whatever is happening and give better support and feedback to the teams. All of these can be done online as well, as we'll go through in those calls, but just an easy way to give quick feedback. And on-site events also give fluid networking, as I quickly mentioned, between everyone involved, not only the participants. One con of on-site events could be that it puts a constraint on your reach, since everyone needs to be on-site at the hackathon venue that you choose. So people have to be either local to begin with, or have another plan for transportation and accommodation to be able to attend your event. However, this part can also be a good thing and an advantage. Having a local event, even though the reach is smaller, can also build your local community better and give you a good door knocking effectiveness of strengthening your own local event. So doesn't need to be a con, but it can be. if you're just going to put it out there already here, if you're uncomfortable with technical tools online, or you feel that it's difficult handling people if you don't know where they're at and so on, then maybe this format would be for you. But you can go through different pros and cons with your own team and think about which format to choose. We're going to give you an example schedule of how you can plan your hackathon. And of course, the more in advance you plan, the better you will be prepared for whatever happens in your hackathon. It's still a spontaneous event and anything can happen. It's good to have a pretty strict schedule and keep that schedule as well as possible, but also make sure that you have a flexible team and you can adjust to any surprises that come your way. As we've said in the previous coaching calls, you're free to plan your event during the hackathon day, 6th to 13th of November, however you wish, 24 hours straight, divided on 2 days, 3 days, however you want to do it. But your hackathon will be 24 hours. Here we're showing you a 2-day plan or example schedule. You don't need to use this, but something that you can maybe use as a template or a beginning of your ideation. After the opening session, when you open your own event on day 1, whenever that may be, nothing is mandatory. So you are free to plan your own event, have the programs and the schedule that you want. So take these as just suggestions or tips or inspiration, but by no means do you need to plan your hackathon exactly like this. We're going to go through all of these things on the coming slides in detail, but just an overview for a 2-day event. I'm going to let you take a look. Excellent. So on day 1, we start with an opening session. This, of course, is an important step to officially open the hackathon. Everyone knows what is expected for the coming 1, 2, 3 days, what is going to happen, and so on. Our suggested content for an opening is as follows. We suggest that you first start with a few welcoming words from your own moderator, facilitator, host, whoever you have there. And then we recommend that you watch the DigiEduHack opening video that will be provided to all of you. Watch that together. You have some practicalities of the DigiEduHack event itself. What will happen? How many local hackathons are we having? You get some interesting content from different guest speakers and previous winners and so on. So that's a good video to have in your opening. Then remember to thank your sponsors if you have any and they are relevant for enabling this event. Thank your mentors and so on. Also go through the event's purpose, theme, challenge, so on. And maybe you have some other speeches coming up that you will introduce and thank and so on. Go through also the core values of your event so that it's clear to everyone. And as said, focus a bit on the challenge and the deliverables and so on. Go through the schedule of the event for your 1, 2, or 3 or 4 days, just so that everyone knows what will happen, what is expected from them, and how can they plan their own hackathon experience. Any other relevant logistical information that you want to go through, all good to include in the opening, since that's one of those times when you have everyone's attention on you before the hackathon and the working kicks off. After the opening session, we again suggest as a maybe that you can have some sort of workshop depending on the status of your hackathon and your teams. If the case is that your teams or your participants don't have teams yet, they have you have individuals who have signed up and shown up, but they don't have teams yet, then we suggest that you have some sort of matchmaking workshop before the actual working starts. So have the single participants introduce themselves, their backgrounds, their skills, interests, what would they like to work on in this hackathon, and so on. After this, you can facilitate some matchmaking based on these introductions and this information to form teams. Yes, you can also have teams who are looking for additional skills and so on. So this could be one good workshop. We will provide you with a matchmaking template deck with more matchmaking tips and tricks, and we'll discuss and show this more in detail in another coaching call focusing on this area. If the case is that your participants are already in teams, but they don't have project ideas yet for the hackathon, then you can have an ideation workshop. In this, we will provide you a self-guided template deck that the teams can fill in and kind of ideate through and come up with their projects that way. You can involve your mentors in supporting the teams in defining and brainstorming interesting areas or ideas or problems that are relevant in your challenge area or so on that they could focus on solving. If the participants have teams, they have ideas, but they haven't presented them yet, we will talk about this a bit more in coming coaching calls, and we have briefly touched upon it earlier as well. But you have the option again to have a meet the mentors session before the actual event, a few days before, a week before, however you want to do that, where your teams that will be participating quickly present their ideas and what they are hoping to accomplish during the hackathon, and the mentors can give some brief comments and spontaneous tips and tricks already so that the teams can work before the hackathon itself. If this hasn't been done yet, you can do it here in your ideas intro session. So again, you can have your teams and mentors meet up in a space where everyone is welcomed, and the teams can present their idea just without any slides or anything, just a quick presentation, a few minutes or so, and then you can have a feedback or question session from the mentors after each session. Here, it's important that this is open to everyone, that everyone can hear the mentor's questions and feedback, just so that it's fair and the tips that are given can be used by all of the teams. If you have teams with different status, you can maybe divide these workshops that they're all taking place, however you want to do that. But something to take in mind so that once the actual working starts, everyone has a team and a project idea. Workshops is also a good way to give the participants maybe a better understanding of the challenge theme or topic, maybe some technology that is required, maybe just a better background of whatever relevant topic to your hackathon or so on. This can be a workshop maybe with a partner, maybe they explain any technology that they are providing. Maybe it's a keynote speech from any of your partners or whatever the case may be. Make sure to have these, or we suggest that you have these as early as possible. So within the first 3 hours-ish of your event, so that after this, the teams can simply focus on their own work and so on. So if you plan to have any workshops, please have them early in the event. Yes. As you can see, we suggest that you have breaks a little here and there. So on a few different times of the event. Make sure to schedule these to give people the possibility to look away from their own project, and maybe they're stuck on something and they can kind of forget about it for a second. This can be anything that you can think of. It can be maybe just a possibility to network. It can be yoga or something else, some sort of physical activity. It can be mind games or again some physical games, mingling, karaoke, anything that you can think of, just to give the teams an opportunity to take a break from their work. Yes. After this, we suggest again a few times during the event that you have a check-in with your teams. This is just to give them support, make sure that they are developing their projects, they're not stuck on anything for too long, and so on. This can be done in several different ways. Again, you are free to choose how, but one method is that you have your mentors join you and you go kind of in a mentor train through the team. So go from team to team with their to their working spaces or stations or tables, or however you've put that up in the venue. It's good to have the mentors involved here, again, just so that they get a sense of where the teams are at and they can give brief comments. Here again, how are the teams feeling? How have they progressed so far? Are they stuck on something? Do they have any questions or urgent issues that they need to solve in order to move forward, and so on and so on. You can either have pre-filled or forms that the teams pre-fill before every check-in, so that you already kind of know their situation and you can immediately jump to discussing their issues and problems or ask follow-up questions and so on. You can also just do it spontaneously and go and ask all these questions and get the first spontaneous answers, however you want to do that. If some of the mentors feel like they have a lot to contribute to a certain team's questions, make sure that they don't start full on mentoring there and then, but make sure that they can give a few comments or let the team know, hey, I will be back to help you after. But make sure that you all go through every team and everyone gets those few minutes that are so valuable to them before the mentors scatter to help the teams that they connected to and feel that they can contribute to. Yes. If the mentors are always the same for every team, do you have allocated one mentor per team for the whole event? Does this change? Does everyone mentor everyone? Is there a booking system that the mentors can book the teams can book the mentors, however you want to do that? One, again, suggestion, way to go forward, again, nothing that you need to do, is maybe to change these mentors around check-in times, because oftentimes when the teams come into a hackathon, they have some sort of problems or issues that they want to work on with a mentor. They get help with that, they develop, they run into something else that maybe isn't within the same field anymore of issues. This way, during your check-ins, when you know where the teams are at that point, you can kind of switch maybe so that there's always a relevant mentor with the relevant skills to help that team. Of course, mentors may be free to mentor other teams around, but when you assign a few mentors to a few teams every now and then, you make sure that there's some mentoring going on at all times. All the mentors are being able to help someone and all the teams are getting mentoring from someone. So that's one way to ensure that there is some mentoring going on. And then outside of those assignments, the mentors can, of course, help any teams, and the teams can ask any mentors for help and so on. Free hands again. This is basically the first the first day, or an example of a first day, if you do 2 days. The next day, you meet back for a welcome back session. Keep this super short. You don't want to do the same thing that you did on the first opening session. Welcome everyone back, cover the schedule of this day. This is especially important if that's the day of the deadline. So make sure to highlight the deadline, how do the teams submit their solution, and so on. Yeah, keep that short and to the point. We will go through more about how the teams submit their projects, the final solutions, and how you submit them onward in a separate call. But if you already want to get familiar with it, you can find it on the DigiEduHack platform under participant support. So there you can still find the submission instructions already, so you know. Yes, and then we give the teams time to work all the way until the deadline. Here, if it's a long day, you can have a bit of breaks again, as we said, check-ins, whatever is needed. Then we go for the solution collection. All solutions that are developed during your hackathon needs to be collected before the deadline or by the deadline that you have set to your teams. We went through the website guide in one of the calls, and you can also find it by clicking this link here on how to collect the solutions in your host website guide. But make sure that each team has to submit their final projects through the DigiEduHack website, so through your Hackathon Challenge website, and fill in that website submission form. That is very important. If for some reason you also want to have another local way of collecting your solutions, you can also have an additional way that they submit directly to you. But they do also need to submit on the DigiEduHack platform. We'll mention this again, but just so you know already. Make sure that each team only submits one solution, both so that you end up with the correct one out of those different versions, and the teams then finally present the right one and so on, so it doesn't get messy. So make sure that they work and finalize that one solution and only submit that one. Also keep reminding the teams about the deadline, keep reminding them of where's the link they need to submit through, or whatever the case may be, so that they are informed at all times, because they might be so focused on their work that they don't have time to think about the submission status and process before it's actually relevant for them. We have provided some solution canvases and so on. You can advise them to use those, and so on. Yes. Then we go into the solution presentation. This is the pitching where the teams will show their final solutions and their final projects. Here it's important to have a clear structure. So communicate clearly to the teams the time they have to give their own pitch and their presentation. Maybe it's usually between 3 to 5 minutes to present their ideas. After this, the jury could get a few minutes for further questions to understand the background or any other thing that they feel that they want more information about. So give the teams first X amount of minutes to present on their own, and then X amount of minutes for some jury and team questions and answers. And also make sure that the jury is aware of the evaluation grid. The teams have been aware of the evaluation grid at all times, so that everyone knows how they will be evaluated and how they will be scored on each evaluation criteria. And the duration of this session, of course, depends on how you want to schedule it, or how many questions you want to give each jury member or the jury in total in the Q&A session, and so on. So up to you again. Since it's probably going to be quite a long session with several teams and lots of focus, try to make it as lively as possible, and have a moderator in between and so on. Finally, no matter how you have done your solution presentation, maybe you skip the presentation parts at all, and the jury only goes through the materials that have been sent in. Maybe that's a pitch video or whatever you want to do in your own hackathon format. The teams or the jury will deliberate sorry about that, deliberate and evaluate after the teams have sent in or presented their solutions. In this time, we advise that the teams have some break, go and have a snack or whatever the case may be, while the jury gathers. You can give some time for the jury to fill in the evaluation grid for all teams, gather their comments and so on, and then we compare scorecards. You don't need to rank all the teams when you collect the grades and scores from the jury scorecards. Maybe you're out just for a top 3 or a top 5 or a top 1. So depending on how many teams you have, you can focus on the top X teams. Just because even if you only talk about, let's say, 5 teams or so, it will take a lot of time, and there are usually lots of conversation around these teams and solutions. So if you clearly see that some teams have been ranked much lower, then focus on those top teams instead in these discussions. Yes, remember that even if you have different prizes from your local sponsors and partners, and you want to maybe award top 3 teams, that is completely fine. But however, for the DigiEduHack Global Award competition, you can only send your top 1 solution, so top 1 team. So however you score and rank these teams, there needs to be one top 1 with the highest score that you send further for the DigiEduHack Global Awards. When you submit this final and winning solutions, a few things to remember. We will go through this a bit more further later as well. It has to be the same person that submitted the team's submission in the registration part of your hackathon. So when your different teams send in their project solutions and ideas, that person has to be the person sending their winning solutions onward for the bigger award ceremony competition as well. Otherwise, it won't be really recognized, and you might run into some issues. So the same person who sent in the team's initial idea sends in the winning idea as well. For you as a local host, your job will be to give them the link where they submit their winning solution. It will be provided by you. And the team will have about 10 days-ish to submit this winning solution and all the materials for the bigger competition, the final competition. But the sooner the better, of course, because people tend to forget what happened at the hackathon and just go forward, and they might forget to submit if they don't do it early enough. If you or the winning team wants to improve their winning idea at some point between winning your local hackathon and sending in materials for the global one, you can schedule an appointment with them on your own and give some tips and tricks. Maybe some of your partners provides mentoring programs for them, so they can meet for some mentoring on their winning solution and improve their materials. Completely up to you. but within the deadline, they need to submit their winning materials. After you've decided on, I kind of jumped the gun there, sorry about that. Before the winning team sends in their materials for the global awards, you have award and a closing session in your own local hackathon, of course. We recommend having a short and light ceremony to close your hackathon. So no one wants to wait too long to find out the final results and the winning teams. But again, remember to thank your mentors and your jury members and sponsors and stakeholders, and congratulate the teams on an amazing performance and so on. After this, you distribute the prizes and awards to your winning teams, however many that is. The teams usually appreciate a lot having the judges announce their winners and give out these prizes or any other awards. So if possible, have a judge or a sponsor do this. We also recommend that you collect some feedback from teams and jury members and sponsors and so on. For the teams, this can be done, for example, while they're waiting after their pitch presentation and before the award ceremony when the jury is discussing. This could be a time when you take some Q&A, some feedback from them one-on-one and so on. And of course, good to have some feedback from the jury members as well. Yes, thank everyone. And before you close your own local hackathon, remind and invite everyone to watch the main stage event on the 13th of November. Yes. There we go. Here we come back to the things that I already kind of jumped the gun on because I couldn't contain myself earlier. Collect feedback from all of your participants, everyone who is somehow involved, just so that you can make sure that in your future events you can do everything bigger and better and so on. You can do this face-to-face, you can send out forms, you can have QR codes that they can scan. The format here again is free, but it is very important that you collect feedback somehow, so that you know what you could do better next time and so on. And here again, we can go through a bit more about the grand winner submission, not too much because I mentioned it kind of detailed already. But as said, this needs to be done. It is very important, which is why it's already been mentioned before. Needs to be done within the given deadline, otherwise they will miss their chance to win the global version of the finale of the DigiEduHack. You are, as said, the one that provides the link where the winning team submits their materials, but you also need to let the teams know what category they compete in, so what challenge category is your hackathon a part of, and so on. And if you want to support them in any way in improving their materials, also up to you, as said. You also find a guide for all of these details and instructions, so you can open that on your own time as well, and we will go through this as the hackathon comes closer a bit more in detail as well. Yes. After your event, make sure to analyze the feedback that you received from your participants and your sponsors and stakeholders. Maybe you want to have a debrief call together with your local partners to go through the participant feedback or anything that they want to contribute with as well. Maybe have a checklist, what even though you planned extensively, something might happen during the hackathon. Maybe have a checklist, what surprised you, what should you be prepared for next time, and so on. And also the success factors that you noticed. What was a hit? Was it some sort of break activity that you noticed that everybody enjoyed, or whatever the case may be? It's also good to do some post-event promotion or marketing. Maybe do some social media posts, a blog article, something describing the outcomes or your winning teams, or whatever the case may be. So some post-event activities as well. That is, in short, an example schedule that you can use and use as a starting point when planning your own event. For a on-site venue, you need to take a few things into consideration and into account. First of all, think about the accessibility of your venue. First of all, is it easy to get there for people coming from different parts of the nearby area? Is there a parking lot? Can you get there also by public transport, and so on? Do you need any access keys to get into the actual building? This could be relevant, for example, after office hours, if your event is all the way into the evening, or maybe even overnight. Is there good mobility aid access as well for different kinds of participants? Is there sleeping areas? Whatever the case may be. So is it accessible both to get to the place and within the building through the different doors and areas? What's the capacity of your venue? How many participants are we looking at? What size does it need to be? This not only in terms of for the opening session or the pitch presentations, that you have a good stage and a big screen and so on, but also working areas, for example. Do you have different working spaces and stations for the teams? It can be, if you want, different co-working and open spaces. They're nice, but maybe also have some private rooms so that the teams can take more peaceful and more private mentoring chats, or maybe they have some external calls or whatever. So good to have both ways, both co-working spaces and private spaces. As I said, presentation space, since your hackathon most likely will culminate and end in this grand presentation stretch, it's good to have a space that allows that. Think about a screen that the audio works. Do you have microphones, etc.? All of these things. Is there enough space for the audience? Is there a room or a table set up for the jury? So on, so on. Very important here is internet connection access, enough power outlets. The teams will most likely be working a lot, depending again if you're on your hackathon, might be working a lot with their computers, and maybe they have several ones and so on. So make sure that you have enough power outlets and good power capability and internet connection. Of course, if your event is for, let's say, lower schools and so on, and the children are more working with their hands and drawing and so on, that's totally fine, but just as a general instruction and suggestion. Also think about your catering options. We're going to go through that a bit more on the coming slide, and maybe have some sort of rest area, even if the teams are not staying overnight, or your hackathon doesn't go 24 hours straight through the night. It could be good to have some sort of rest area for the teams to take a break, maybe have a snack, or have some games or whatever that they can focus on when they're taking breaks from their own projects. So a few things to take into consideration. Yes, I promised to tell you a bit more about the catering. The first question, of course, do you provide catering? To what extent do you provide catering, and so on? If you have the possibility to have meals served throughout the event, very nice. If not, you for whatever reason don't have the opportunity to do so, we at least advise you to have coffee and tea and some other optional drinks, can be whatever, sodas or smoothies or whatever, and different snacks such as fruits or chips or candy or whatever you can think of. Just different energizing and good snacks to keep the energy levels high throughout the hackathon. If you can provide meals, great thing. And in that case, take the following into account. Think about, again, how the setup of your event is. So how long are you there for, how many days, and so on. Do you need breakfast, lunch, dinner, evening snack? How much do you need, depending on when your participants will be at the venue? Also think about the number of meals that needs to be served. So you need to count your participants, including or the whole number of people will also include your mentors, your judges, your own team. Do you have any external guests that are coming to view or watch the opening session that you want to provide something for, and so on. It's also important that you ask any dietary information from your participants, so that you make sure that you can take all of those into consideration and have vegetarian or vegan options, take different allergies into account, and so on. Of course, if you want to be on the safe side, it's good to have some vegan and nut-free options by default already, as those are common allergies. So just to have that, and everyone can be able to eat something. Be clear to communicate this to your participants. So if you provide meals, let them know which ones will be available so they can prepare themselves as well. Make sure that they get all the food that they will require, and that they also answer about their dietary information. So communicate this clearly, what you provide and what they need to provide to you. If you don't have catering, you can identify good nearby places to recommend to have deal meals for the participants. Maybe you can get a discount code or other deals for these participants to visit there or take out food or whatever from these places. So make sure to still try to accommodate some sort of food for your participants. And again, here, communicate clearly about these places. Also, if you provide meals that are catered in your hackathon venue, maybe make sure that they're close by, so that it's easy. You can also think if you can get different types of meals for different types of the day from the same place, could be easier, or you could get maybe a discount price if you take several meals from the same company. Make sure if they have a menu of different meals that you can pick and choose a bit of variety for those. But again, lots of different alternatives and ways to go forward here. Yes. Your on-site resources should cover the following, at least. Again, you might think of something else as well, but a good checklist to start with. You will need someone to host your event. And here I mean hosting the opening session, the closing sessions, moderate the pitching session and possible Q&A session that you will do, someone will need to host the deliberation and lead the jury conversation in the right direction, host the award ceremony, and so on and so on. Maybe the same moderator or host is with the mentors for the check-ins when they visit the different team tables and so on. So someone that is the face of the hackathon, so to say. You will also need enough resources to facilitate the teams and the mentors' work. So here, make sure that the mentors know what to do and how they can reach out to give their support to the teams. Maybe after each check-in, assign a few mentors to every team and so on. You can also make sure that the teams know where they can ask for questions and everyone's internet is working, they have working spaces and so on. So someone needs to be on call there to make sure that everything is running smoothly. Also, you need someone to maintain the facility itself and the general working conditions, not only in terms of the space usage, but also refill the snacks, boil some more coffee, whatever the case may be. So someone to make sure that everything is going as it should. You might need some IT support here or someone with technical skills in that sense that you can make sure that all the microphones, the audio, the visual parts of the presentations are working. The screen presents everything as it should. And so. You also want to make sure that the mentors and judges are being properly taken care of and supported, and they don't feel alone and lost in your event. So you might want to have someone on mentor and judge duty, at least at some parts of the event, to make sure that they know what to do. Maybe they have a resting area for when they're not actively mentoring. They have a few quiet rooms that they can go and rest or take private calls, whatever the case may be again. So at least these things should be taken into consideration when you're doing your resourcing and planning your resourcing for the event. Yes, also make sure, now I'm jumping back a bit because it just appeared to me, for your venue and your resourcing and venue capacity, if you're doing an overnight event and people stay either late or even overnight, might be good to make sure that maybe the participants are staying in somewhere and the mentors and jury members want to stay maybe somewhere separately. However you want to do that, make sure that you have shower opportunities, bathrooms, all these kinds of necessities as well taken care of. Again, depending on your own event, might need more, might need less, but this is a good starting point. As I mentioned a bit, I'm going to go through it a bit more in detail. It is very good to give the participants a break from their super intense work and projects every now and then in your events. Try to prepare an energy boost, a breather, possibility to clear their head a bit. You can decide yourself what this social activity or energy boost will be about. Is it some sort of on-site online game? Is it a possibility to sing karaoke? Do you do any yoga, anything else? Is there some nice activity nearby that you can go and execute? Whatever the case may be. The most important aspect here is to try and make the teams interact with each other, network, mingle a bit, so that you can try to break up the teams a bit, mix people, mix mentors and judges and so on, so that the atmosphere and the collaboration and feel good aspect is also taken care of here. And depending on your setup, you can decide on how many breaks you need to have, when and where. Maybe they can differ if they're taking place at different times of the day and so on. So a few different breaks. Lastly, we trust you, and we're sure that you will have amazing events and hackathons locally. But we would like to join those and like to know what is happening and be a part of your events as much as possible. So please remember to share, take pictures, take videos of your event, send them to us on Discord through the Share Your Experience channel. And of course, if this content includes the participants and the people that you are working with, ensure the consent of that as well, that people consent that they can be showing in this content. So collect that from your participants and then share with us the content, videos, pictures, anything showing your atmosphere and what's going on. This way, we can also reshare and show the greater audience. The participants can also share this content, of course, which is a good thing. So both you as a host and your participants can share content on their own channels and with us. Don't wait until the very end to just give out a thank you post or send us one group picture. Send us pictures and videos as you go, because we will highlight the local events on the DigiEduHack channels, social media channels throughout the 10 days, with the content coming from you hosts. So your content will be shared throughout. So start on the first day and keep updating us as much as you have time. Maybe good to have resources for a marketing person there as well to promote your event. Remember to use those mandatory hashtags that are shown here on the screen and tag DigiEduHack when you're sharing, so that we can keep track, we can like, we can share, and we can stay on top of your content and boost it. If you want some more tips and tricks on your marketing and promotional activities for your DigiEduHack event, you can always go back to the coaching call 5 that was focusing on these areas. All right, that was my info session for today. If you are planning to have a on-site format, if you have any questions regarding this, reach out to our through our email here, send questions in the chat, join our weekly calls on Friday. And if you're still unsure of what format you are planning to have your event, you can watch the following 2 videos as well, focusing on online and blended formats. With that being said, I want to once and for all thank you for being with me for yet another coaching call, and I will again see you in the following calls, same time, same place. Thank you.